Good evening, dear friends. Welcome to the pages of our YouTube Almanac. A pleasant meeting is never complete without another Friday. So, friends, leave your comments, don't be shy. Tell us how you're doing, describe your life and how things are going. And today we will dive into the world of a new discovery. Today, not only will your eyes be opened to the root cause of the problem, but you will also be able to restore your well-being, specifically your neck, to make it flexible, strong, long, mobile, and beautiful. Subtitles and subtitles, and so on. So my friends, first of all, to understand why any disorders occur in our body, namely how compensatory mechanisms work, you only need to imagine just two muscles. For example, this muscle. Why is that? Its shape is unclear. The muscle, well, let's say, looks like this, and next to it is a second muscle. They make some kind of movement together. Let me use myself as an example. The deltoid muscle here, let's simplify it. Let's take this side movement, the middle deltoid, let's say. And here we have the levator scapulae muscle and the trapezius. So when we raise our arm, it's always these two muscles, the deltoid, the trapezius, and the levator scapulae. There are three and they work together. And let's say I start lifting an object that the main muscle responsible for this sideways movement can't handle. I lift it. It's not a very natural movement. It's rarely used in everyday life. Plus the weight is quite heavy, and along with the deltoid muscle, the trapezius and the muscle that lifts the scapula also get involved. So if one muscle can't handle the load, to prevent injury, muscle number 2 steps in. That is, muscle number 1 does the main movement, 8, and muscle number 2 helps it. But if the effort is such that the first muscle can't handle it, the second muscle compensates for what it's supposed to do. That is, normally 90% of the effort is done by the main muscle. This remaining 10% is handled by the second muscle, which is just kept in tone and helps out. But if the effort is such that this one can't handle it, it changes. This is the proportional correspondence. Here it can reach up to 70%. It can move to this muscle, and here accordingly it already does the work. How much? Experienced mathematicians have already calculated it for the first time. If it goes even further, the load continues up to 99%, and then it shifts to this muscle. What will happen to the first and second? Both get injured. Unfortunately, both get injured because one starts doing what it can no longer do and the other does what it doesn't want to do anymore. That's why injury is inevitable. This is where areas of tension and trigger points appear. When this muscle tenses up, what will it do? It will squeeze. It will squeeze whatever passes inside it and next to it. So what passes inside the muscle? These are the venous vessels, the blue ones. Arterial vessels, which are red, and also nerves, which are yellow. But for you, let it be green. And all these three structures are compressed inside the muscle. They are located between the muscles and the muscle. It begins to malfunction. This is how it should work. When you work, tense up. That's what it was told at the beginning of its life journey. When you rest, relax. This is what it loses the ability to do normally when it should already be relaxing, because you forced it to work. to do what it didn't want to do. It lost this ability. The control of its function, which is carried out by the nervous system. Again, the nervous system, both central and peripheral. The central one. This is the brain. This is your desires, your thoughts. Everything is right here. And the spinal cord. These are the conductors. This is what turns your thoughts and desires into action. The brain says, come on, hand, make an upward movement, and through the spinal cord, and the information travels through the peripheral nerves and goes to the muscle. That's how movement happens. We make some movement with our hand. Touch fire, information comes from the receptors. Damage starts, it goes to the spinal cord. We pull our hand back, a reflex occurs. Then, with our head, we realize we shouldn't have done that. We hurt our hand and we don't do it again. So, friends, in this muscle, areas of tension and overload develop. What happens in this muscle? The same thing can also happen, but in addition to this, inflammatory processes develop in it. There are areas in it, tendon injuries, that is, they start to get strained there. Tendons begin to stretch in these areas. The attachment of the muscle to the periosteum, to the bone. In these areas, because the muscle is making movements that are not natural for it, there are spots of damage, inflammation, and microtrauma. So this is the process that awaits you. If it would be waiting if you hadn't found this video. But fortunately, you see, all of this will disappear. Just like that, it's already disappearing. For you, this is just a bad dream. So, friends, these three photos show the same person. Here, he's looking you in the eyes. Here, you're looking at him from the side. And here, you're looking at his back. And depending on which muscles change their function, we know. Depending on that, we will determine it. In short, the first case, there are three different cases right here. Now we will look at three different scenarios of what can happen with the neck and what we should do about it. First two muscles, the sternocleidomastoid muscle, ichnomyshtsi, which is the main muscle responsible for the movement, and the second group of muscles, even the scalene muscles, they are located behind it. What is special about the sternocleidomastoid muscle? It is located right here. If you tilt your head forward, you can see its outline. The scalene muscles are underneath it, a little bit to the side, right here. There are three: anterior, middle, and posterior. We can make movements like rotations and tilts. Tilting forward is done by the sternocleidomastoid muscle. Tilting to the side also involves it. The scalene muscle can also perform these movements, but that's not its main function. The main function, the scalene muscles are involved during inhalation and exhalation. They lift the first and second ribs and also participate a little in tilting. But if the main sternocleidomastoid muscle loses its ability to function properly, because it's a large, powerful muscle, the head is supported by it and it allows the head to turn and tilt. But the thing is, in our everyday life, when we look down at our screens, at our phones, newspapers, books, there are even people who still read books. Then this muscle gradually starts to weaken. It atrophies and becomes thinner, and the load begins to shift to the scalene muscles. Even the weight of the head becomes too much for it. And now let's find out on your own head. Go ahead and do a test on your own head to see if it's able to perform its function. This is the first possible scenario. Two muscles, the scalene and the sternocleidomastoid. What's the downside? When the scalene muscle is overloaded, it starts to compress. This is the cervical plexus, the brachial plexus right here. All these nerves start to get compressed the function of the arm is impaired. The arm gets weaker and all possible disorders develop in the shoulder area. The scapulohumeral period. Growth. Hypertrophy, decrease in the volume of the arm muscles, weakness in the arm. That's how it will start, and neck mobility will also be restricted. The second option, forward displacement of the shoulder, overloading of the levator scapulae muscle, overloading of the upper part, trapezius muscles, headaches in the occipital region. Neck pain may occur here, radiating to the arm with arm numbness and limited neck mobility. There may also be pain in the occipital area and possible dizziness. Also, because when the levator scapulae muscle is strained, there will also be reflex tension in the suboccipital muscles, because this muscle, it originates from the transverse processes including the first cervical vertebra, which starts to pull downward. These suboccipital muscles reflexively tense up. Why does this happen? Because the scapula starts to shift forward. Why does it shift forward? There are two main reasons. The first is that the trapezius muscle becomes weak, middle, upper, lower, or all three. The chest muscles become shortened, or the chest muscles become much stronger than the muscles between the shoulder blades in the back. Or, as a second option, the rear deltoid, the deltoid muscle in the back, becomes weak. It rarely bears weight in daily life, while the front one does most of the work. This muscle becomes bigger, and it's not just the shoulder blade, but even the shoulder itself shifts forward, and then the shoulder blade follows it. The load also changes, and the muscle that lifts the shoulder blade is constantly under tension. Headache, dizziness, limited neck mobility, neck pain, shoulder pain due to the changed position of the shoulder, and when moving, an awkward angle appears here in the shoulder joint. This means when moving the arm, there is a risk of injury to the shoulder joint or the long tendon of the biceps. The third option, the last one for today, is a spasm of the suboccipital muscles. But not because of shortening of the muscle that lifts the shoulder blade, but because of weakness. These muscles here, the long neck extensors that are located at the back here, they are right here in the back. What are the symptoms? Here, pain in the back of the head, dizziness, and neck pain are also possible, as well as restricted neck movement. Appearance changes. The head shifts forward like this, inability to straighten it, and limited mobility. So, friends, what should we do about this? Now we know which muscle isn't working. Here, it's the long neck extensor and tension in the short extensors. Here, the rear deltoid is weak, the deltoid is weak, the levator scapulae muscle is tense and shortened, the sternocleidomastoid muscle is weak, and the scalene muscle is shortened. And now we know what needs to be trained and what needs to be stretched. If we just stretch what's tense for a while, we'll get some relief. Then everything will return even stronger, maybe twice as strong. That's why we need to strengthen what's weak first. Let's start here. First, the sternocleidomastoid muscle. At the same time, testing, which will determine how well developed it is for you. For this test, you will need a bed. If you have a bed or a sofa at home, you lie down on it on your back. If you don't have a bed or a sofa, then you won't be able to do this test. You should find friends or acquaintances who have these things. Lie down, and there's nothing under your head, just empty space. So you lie down like this, and now the weight of your head is supported by your two sternocleidomastoid muscles together. It's normal if you can lie like this for about 20 seconds, 30 is really good. If you feel that your head starts to shake like this,
stop immediately. That's a sign that the muscle is quite weak. It can't support the weight of your head, and you need to train it. And this is how you should train it. Well, you can also use this test itself as a form of training. But if you start doing this exercise and you can't hold it anymore, if you're straining too much or something starts to hurt, then stop right away and go a little lower. Shift your position, lie down and rest. You can rest here for up to 30 seconds. Then repeat. So the first one is a static exercise for holding the weight of your head. Gradually, you can work up to 30 seconds. Variations of this exercise include separate loading on the right and left sternocleidomastoid muscles. If we turn our head, not to the maximum, you don't need a full 45 degrees, just a little, then the load will already be greater on one muscle, the right one. In this case, if I turn my head to the left and if I turn it to the right, then it will be more. My left sternocleidomastoid muscle is working. And here you can also determine which one is stronger and which one is weaker. This is the first exercise, the first kind of static exercise, because for some people it will be more comfortable to do a static exercise, because the peculiarity of these exercises, the peculiarity of training these muscles, especially at first, is that sometimes after this your head might hurt a little. Some people prefer static, others dynamic. You just need to find what works for you. My head hurts a bit. It's exactly because these are referred pains from overloading these muscles that haven't worked for you in a long time. If this happens, try static and dynamic exercises. So the next exercise is a moving one. We turned our head and now we lift it up, lower it, lift it up, lower it. Here's the first option. You lift your head off the surface to one side, then to the other side. If you've never done this before, start with 5 times, 2 or 3 sets of 5 repetitions. And the second option is we turn like this onto our side, and here we do the same lift. Here too, there won't be as much strain on the sternocleidomastoid muscle. So for those who can't do the first exercise, you can start with this one. The second option is static holding. It will also be easier to hold in this position here than in the first exercise, because here, along with the sternocleidomastoid muscle, the entire lateral surface is also working, as well as the trapezius and the neck extensor even. If we turn the head a little bit down here to the side, at a 45-degree angle so that it's looking here, then the load will also shift to the neck extensor and the back part. Because the sternocleidomastoid muscle consists of 2 parts, down here one part goes to the sternum, that's the central tendon, and the other part goes to the clavicle. And if we turn our head like this, then the load will be, if you hold or move it, the load will be here. We do this on the clavicular part as well, on one side and on the other side. This exercise is also useful for those who, for example, want to lengthen their neck, and for those who have noticed that their neck has shifted forward. This also happens very often because the sternocleidomastoid muscle is not performing its function. Everything shifts to the scalene muscles. The scalene muscles try to do the same thing as the sternocleidomastoid. The muscle has to tense up as much as possible, and that's why the head shifts forward like this. And if this is also combined with shortening of the levator scapulae muscle, it will shift even more. So that was the sternocleidomastoid muscle. Here are a few ways to train it. Now, in this case, what has weakened here is, as you can see, the rear deltoid. It's good to train it with a light weight. At first, a small weight will suit you, because usually this muscle is weak and is hardly used in everyday life. So take half a kilogram. If you don't have dumbbells, take a small bottle, fill it with water, and that's about half a kilogram. The movement will be like this as well. It's more convenient to do this on a bed, so you can let your arm hang down here, and from this position lift your arm up. Don't lift it higher than this, because if you lift it higher, the load will leave the muscle about 45 degrees. And again, lower it, lift it, lower it. Here, hold it however is comfortable, but at first it's better to keep your pinky up and your thumb down so that the load goes directly to the rear delt. The range of motion is small, like this. Down here it stretches, at the top it contracts, stretches, contracts the elbow. But the main thing is not to let it point straight down here. Do it like this. When you keep your pinky up, basically, everything should be the way it's supposed to be. How can you make it more difficult? How do you add weight? And you can try doing different angles. Shift it down a little bit. And here you may notice that in different positions the muscle can work differently. It might be easier in some places and harder in others. You can use 3 positions. The first is in line with your shoulder. The second is lower than the shoulder, about at the level of your navel, a little above or a little below. It depends on the length of your arm and at eye level as well. 3 positions. You can train in all 3. And the special thing about this exercise is that you will feel tension, a slight fatigue, and a burning sensation in the rear deltoid area. And after doing this, you'll feel your shoulders open up. And the most interesting thing is that this side part of your neck, the muscles that lift the scapula, will relax. It feels really relaxed after this. And third, we have the neck extensors. Next. For them, there are several exercises for them. The easiest one for those whose muscles are weak or who haven't tried it before is this exercise as well. Again, you lie down on your stomach like this and try it right here. At first, you can keep your arms still. You can basically place your arms like this, however it's comfortable, and hold the position statically. Look, do these muscles support the weight of your head or not? Because sometimes it's so weak that even this can be hard to do. If you can handle that, then for the second exercise, look a little bit over here. So we do head flexion and extension, but extending up to 45 degrees is enough. So don't try to look all the way back. So you go forward at a 45-degree angle and back at a 45-degree angle. About this range of motion will be enough. Forward and back, do these 2 movements. The first is just static holding. The second is movement with a small amplitude, about like this. If this is not difficult for you, then you can move on to more advanced exercises. For this, take the pillow you sleep on, make sure it's soft so it can be pressed down, and place it under your head. And now, using the strength of your head and neck, press backward so that you feel tension in your neck muscles. At first, you might feel, or maybe you won't be able to feel, all the neck muscles tensing right away. There might only be tension in certain areas. But the muscle is long like this. It goes from the 4th and 5th thoracic vertebra up to the back of the head. And it gets activated well during this movement. So you press hold for a second or 2 or 3 and then relax. Press in, hold. You don't need to tuck your chin during this exercise. Just leave it in its natural position. So you don't overstretch the short neck extensor, so you don't injure anything there, because they can get injured when overstretched. With these kinds of movements, you might tense up at the wrong angle somewhere.
So friends, well, are you tired of watching me do exercises? And some of you even skipped ahead quickly and didn't watch, while some of you even tried it yourselves. Those are the real champs. They have the respect of all our channel's viewers. Handshake to you, write in the comments who tried to make it, who dared, and who just keeps eating. Well, enjoy your meal. The second stage is muscle stretching, but as you understand, the running time of the film strip doesn't allow us to show it this time, so we'll save it for later until our next meeting. Of course, I don't want to say goodbye, but there's a week ahead, and you'll dedicate this week to these 3 exercises and tell me next Friday how much. Everything has improved for you, so what else can I say? Until the next episodes, friends, want the exercises sooner? They're all linked in the description. I'll leave the early ones for you. Before, you'll see them before everyone else. All of that is there too. All right, until the next episodes now.